In the small, picturesque town of Willow Creek, where everyone knew everyone and secrets were hard to keep, I lived what seemed like an idyllic life. I had been married to my high school sweetheart, Michael, for 10 years. Our love story was the envy of many, filled with moments of joy, shared adventures, and a bond that appeared unbreakable. But as I would soon discover, appearances can be deceiving. It all began with a seemingly innocent weekend. Michael had told me he was going on a solo hiking trip for 2 days to clear his mind and find some peace in nature. Always supportive, I encouraged him, sending him inspirational quotes and songs to keep his spirits high. I packed his favorite snacks, made sure his gear was ready, and kissed him goodbye with a smile, trusting him completely. My world started to crumble when Michael stopped responding to my texts. I had been using a GPS satellite app to check on his location occasionally, just to ensure he was safe. But when his signal remained stationary in a town far from any known hiking trails, my concern grew. My curiosity turned into a gnawing suspicion. Determined to find out what was going on, I drove to the location indicated by Google Maps. My heart pounded as I approached the address, an upscale hotel on the edge of town. I parked my car and sat there for a moment, my mind racing. I sent Michael a text, telling him I knew where he was and demanding an explanation. Silence. No response. The anger and betrayal surged through me. It took all my self-control not to storm into the hotel and confront him. Instead, I drove home, seething with rage and hurt. I needed an outlet for my emotions, something to channel the storm brewing inside me. At home, I built a fire in our backyard fire pit and sat beside it, nursing a bottle of wine. My thoughts were consumed with images of Michael with another woman, his deceit cutting deeper with every sip. In my drunken fury, I grabbed one of Michael's beloved skis. He had 5 pairs and treasured them, and threw it into the flames, watching as it melted and warped. But my anger wasn't satiated. I took a knife and punctured the tire of his prized convertible, recent midlife crisis purchase that had always annoyed me. I felt a grim satisfaction as I watched the tire deflate, imagining it was his deceit shriveling under the weight of my discovery. Michael returned home the next day, acting as if nothing had happened. He was ready to continue his web of lies, but I was done pretending. I confronted him, demanding the truth. At first, Michael tried to maintain his deceit, but my relentless questioning broke him down. He admitted to the affair, a tryst with an old girlfriend from high school, and our conversation extended over 3 painful days, unraveling the fabric of our marriage. We decided to see a therapist, hoping to find some clarity and perhaps a path to reconciliation. Our first session was raw and emotional, but it gave me a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could salvage something from the wreckage. After our therapy session, Michael noticed his missing skis. He panicked, believing someone had broken into our home. His fears spiraled into paranoia, and he insisted on calling the police. I, trying to remain calm, urged him not to. I eventually confessed to destroying the skis and puncturing the tire, explaining my actions as a cathartic release of my anger. Michael was livid. He couldn't understand how I could do something so destructive and then let him believe they had been robbed. He accused me of committing an act of violence, turning the focus away from his betrayal and onto my reaction. I felt a pang of guilt but stood my ground. I apologized for how I handled the situation but refused to feel remorse for destroying the skis. To me, it was a victimless crime, a way to cope with the immense hurt he had caused. Yet, Michael's outrage over the skis seemed disproportionate to the betrayal of our marriage vows. Days turned into weeks, and the tension between us only grew. Therapy sessions became battlegrounds where old wounds were reopened and new ones were inflicted. I struggled with the duality of my feelings, love for the man I married and hatred for the man who had betrayed me. Michael, on the other hand, oscillated between guilt and self-righteousness. He blamed my actions for exacerbating the situation, using them as a shield against his own culpability. Our communication broke down further, and every conversation turned into a blame game. One evening, after another heated argument, Michael packed a bag and left. He didn't say where he was going or when he would be back. I felt a mix of relief and sorrow as I watched him drive away. I knew our marriage was over, but the finality of it hit me harder than I expected. I spent the next few days in a daze, trying to piece together the fragments of my life. I sought solace in friends and family, but the betrayal had left a scar that would take a long time to heal. The idyllic life I once knew was gone, replaced by uncertainty and pain. Weeks turned into months, and the wounds of our failed marriage remained fresh. Therapy had done little to bridge the chasm between us, and Michael's departure only deepened my sense of abandonment and betrayal. The house that was once our sanctuary now felt like a prison, filled with memories of a love that had been shattered. My emotional state began to deteriorate. I couldn't concentrate at work, and my friends noticed my growing withdrawal. They tried to help, but their words of comfort felt hollow. Nights were the hardest. The loneliness was overwhelming. I would lie awake, haunted by the image of Michael with another woman, replaying the events over and over in my mind. Michael's absence left a void that nothing seemed to fill. I turned to alcohol more frequently, trying to numb the pain. It became a vicious cycle, drinking to forget, only to wake up with the same heartache and regret. The once occasional glass of wine had turned into a nightly ritual, a temporary escape from the relentless torment. One night, after yet another bout of heavy drinking, I found myself at the fire pit again, staring into the dying embers. The sense of satisfaction I once felt from destroying Michael's possessions was long gone, replaced by a hollow emptiness. I realized that my actions, though justified in my eyes, had only deepened the divide between us. The catharsis I sought had turned into a bitter reminder of my own pettiness. My health began to suffer from the constant stress and alcohol abuse. I lost weight, my skin grew pale, and dark circles formed under my eyes. Friends and colleagues expressed concern, but I pushed them away, unable to deal with their pity. My performance at work declined, and I received several warnings from my boss. The prospect of losing my job added another layer of anxiety to my already fraught existence. The final blow came when Michael filed for divorce. The official papers arrived one dreary afternoon, delivering a cold, legal end to our tumultuous relationship. The reality of our separation hit me like a physical blow. It was over, truly over. The man I had loved for so long, despite his flaws and betrayals, was now a stranger. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Michael fought for everything: the house, the car, even our dog, Max. The legal battles drained me emotionally and financially. I couldn't keep up with the mounting legal fees and eventually had to let go of my lawyer. The court ruled in Michael's favor, and I was left with nothing but the memories of a life that once was. Homeless and broken, I moved into a small, dingy apartment on the outskirts of town. The loneliness was suffocating, the silence a constant reminder of my shattered life. My drinking spiraled out of control, and I lost my job shortly after. Friends and family tried to reach out, but I was too far gone, lost in a sea of despair. One cold, rainy night, as I sat in my cramped apartment with a bottle of cheap wine, I realized the full extent of my fall. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal. It had all led me here, to this point of no return. There was no happy ending, no redemption, just a life forever altered by the choices and actions of two people who once loved each other. In the end, Willow Creek moved on, as small towns do, but the scars of my past remained. etched into the very fabric of my being. My story became a cautionary tale whispered among neighbors, a reminder of how quickly love can turn to ashes. And as I looked out at the rain-soaked streets, I knew that some wounds never truly heal.